Hey, what's up, guys? Alyssa Knight here, coming at you with another vlog. How's everyone doing today? I hope you're doing well. So, I was sitting there thinking to myself, what are some of the things that all of you, as my loyal viewers and listeners, would like to know about me? So, I came through, a few jaw-dropping, earth-shattering, affecting life as we know it questions. And the first question that came to my head was, why do you wear your hair in a ponytail all the time? I actually used to wear my hair down all the time. And yeah, not that any of you really care about this, but I thought I'd share it anyway. I don't know, I guess it's a combination of, being hot all the time and feeling your hair on your neck and you're like sweaty and hot and like, ew, gross, especially during summertime. Let's see. The other thing is, I don't know, like I was standing in the grocery line, one day and the checkout lady looked at me and said, "Oh my God, your hair makes you look like this warrior princess." And I was like, yes, Xena warrior princess. I'm totally going to do this like all the time. Anyway, so that was my random thought. The next question I asked myself is, what is the coolest hack that you've ever done? Right? Like if you were to ask a penetration tester who's been doing it for 20 years, what is the coolest hack you've ever done or coolest pen test you've ever done? I think that probably the one that would go down in history as the coolest, most 31337 hack of all time would be the time that I did a penetration test for this company that takes recycled plastic and turns them into clothing, right? That's all I'll say about the company. Anyway, so they had this warehouse no longer really being manned by humans, meaning that the people that were doing the okay, let me say that again. So what was interesting about this company was their robots. They had robots that were actually picking up these massive, large spindles of plastic and whatnot, other stuff, and moving them to different places within the warehouse, within the facility. And I'm assuming at one point these were done by humans. So when you walk in there, you see nothing but these robots moving around and, moving these things around. So I was like, I bet I could hack that. So the penetration test began, and lo and behold, of course, there was an RCE, which means remote code execution, on these set of systems. And they all had the same kind of syntax in the DNS name and the host name. They all kind of had this same sort of, pattern, I guess you could say, or same set of characters. And so, of course, all of these systems were built with the same gold image, right? So one RCE that affected one host affected 150, 200 other hosts. So I was thinking, wow, these, never really seen this before. So I didn't know what these systems did. And I ran the exploit against these hosts, these targets, and of course, the RCE worked, and I got a remote shell. And then I took a screenshot of the desktop, right? So those of you who use Metasploit, I was in a interpreter shell, and it has this function where you could take a screen capture of the desktop or flip on the camera, the webcam, right? So of course I did that. I was like, yeah, like usually you get like this random weird human just looking at their screen, like, like half asleep or whatever, working on whatever. But this time it was different. I saw the warehouse and things were moving, and I took a screenshot of the desktop, and it was the software interface that I had never seen before, with all these moving charts and all these gizmos and doodads and whatever. So I of course repeated this across all the hosts, and yeah. So long story short, I brought the data to the client. Turns out that I hacked the systems that were running the robots. So I literally had control of every robot that was in this facility. It was cool. I don't care like how elite you are. I don't care how many years you've been doing penetration testing. If you've been doing it longer than 20 years, okay, great. If you've been doing it for 1 month, no matter how long you've been doing it, that's effing cool. I don't know. It's just, yeah, like to have control of robots that are moving all of these things and you could like run the robots into each other. And we just live in a very cool time. Anyway, so that was 5 minutes too long. Anyway, I will stop the questions there and go into the point of this vlog. So one of the things that I find is, that I've been seeing lately is that people are posting these questions about whether or not you need to be a developer in order to be a penetration tester or a more elite hacker. And I am a huge advocate, and I'll probably get trolled for this. Don't care. But you know, that's a religious debate that has been fought for millennia, right? 20 years ago, when I first got into this, that was the huge argument that, oh, you know, you're not as good as a hacker. You're not going to be able to find as much stuff if you don't know how to code. I think, I'm sorry and excuse the expletive here, but I think that's total bullshit. If you are being bullied, if you are being told that you are not going to be as good of a penetration tester or as good of a hacker, or whatever you want to call it, if you don't know how to script or write code, just ignore it, right? I mean, you know, opinions are like assholes. Everyone's got one. Oh, that was totally raunchy. I'm sorry. I had to say it though. But like, seriously, like I have worked in this industry for two decades, and you know, you just run into assholes. You know, there's a lot of assholes in this industry. And, you know, the thing about it is that a lot of the times the people that are actually yelling that and bullying you and saying that you won't be as good of a penetration tester unless you're a developer are developers themselves. And that's great. Don't get me wrong. For those of you who are penetration testers and you can script and you can code, that's awesome. That's great. I wish I could do that. I wish I wanted to do that, but I don't. It's not that I can't do that. It's that I have no interest at all in writing code. I do not want to stare at code all day. That's not me. I'm too much of an artist. I'm too creative. I'm too much of a visual person. I would rather be in Adobe Premiere or After Effects or whatever, you know, black magic design, whatever it is. That's not me. So, you know, there was a time when I worked at Allstate as a penetration tester, and I was bullied like really bad. And you know who you are. You're out there. I'm not going to say your names, but you know who you are. And yeah, it was like they ganged up at me. It was like the, you know, party of five on me, you know. And, you know, one of the big things that I was bullied for was that I wasn't a programmer. You know, I wasn't as good as them because I wasn't a developer. I'm sure there were other reasons and whatnot that I won't get into. But in any case, they didn't like me. And one of the things that, and, you know, I'm still going to a lot of expensive therapy because of it. So damn you. I'm sending you my therapist bills. Just kidding. So, you know, if you are getting told that or if you're worried that you're not going to be as good of a penetration tester, or penetration testing isn't for you because you're not a developer, don't listen to yourself. Don't listen to that voice in your head. Don't listen to the naysayers. You know, let me give you an example. So in 2000, when I first got into vulnerability research, God, that was 19 years ago. My God. When I first got into vulnerability research, I published my first advisory. Do you know what that advisory was? It wasn't me going through, you know, source code and looking for buffer overflows or heap overflows or smashing the stack or any of that crap. It was the fact that this was about the time, if you guys remember, and girls remember, when VPNs came out. They were God's gift to security. It was triple DES encryption, IPsec. Whoa, you know, this is unhackable. I loved it when vendors said things were unhackable. Anyway, so I came across this VPN vendor called RapidStream. I'm name dropping, but that's okay because there's an advisory on BugTrack about this, and you guys can go look it up on Security Focus. It is true. I published the first VPN advisory. Eat it, programmers, eat it. Just kidding. So I did actually publish the first advisory on hacking VPNs, and it was on RapidStream. And RapidStream had thought it was a good idea. Are you ready for this? To hard code the root account for the appliance into the SSH binary with no password. Yes, it was a thing. And I'm wondering if any vendors have ever done this since 2000. I would hope that no one would be that stupid. But this actually happened. This was, you could root a VPN appliance by targeting its public interface, by SSHing into the appliance. I don't remember if it was the internal interface or the external interface. Anyway, whatever. I'm sure you could like start SSH to listen on the public interface. I can't recall. It was 19 years ago. Anyway, you could type in SSH space u root -p and then in quotes put your shellcode like bin.sh. And when you were prompted for the password, you would hit enter and you would be dropped into a root shell. Yeah, this was a VPN 1U pizza box that you could just root into with no password. It was cool. Anyway, no programming needed, right? You know how they say that you know how there's some songwriters or some artists who have this, 15 seconds of fame. They're this one-hit wonder. They do this amazing song and it goes viral, it hits the charts at #1, and you never hear from them again, right? That is me. I am the one-hit wonder in vulnerability research. Seriously, like my big song, my big, #1 chart research was VPNet. Okay, I have to talk about this because I totally did not get to respond. For those of you who remember BugTrack and remember Security Focus, and the BugTrack mailing list, whenever vulnerability researchers were doing vulnerability research, they would find vulnerabilities and they would hopefully go through responsible disclosure, work with the vendor to fix it, get a patch out, and then publish an advisory to BugTrack. So I did this, right? I worked with the vendor, VPNet at the time. My father at the time was the director of marketing. It was like VP of marketing or director of marketing. Anyway, he got fired from that job. So the company thought that it would be a good strategy, a good PR strategy, because at the time they were in negotiations to be acquired by Avaya. Okay. So this gets crazy. All right. So anyway, VPNet goes out and says, oh, she released this advisory, or somebody said this in something. Anyway, that she released this advisory because her father got fired from VPNet, right? So, okay, question #1, even if I did do that because they fired my dad, so like seriously, like who cares? Like if that was the reason for me to go after them and find vulnerabilities in their product, who cares? It was the reason. It wasn't the reason, but I was working for a company called SBC Datacom, which eventually I think got acquired by AT&T. Anyway, they were creating a partnership with VPNet, right? Here's the whole story. You guys are getting the dirt. This is the real story, okay? Hashtag lifetime real story. Anyway, okay. So VPNet had this partnership with them, and I think in the contract somewhere, VPNet had put in the contract that, okay, if, in this partnership, any vulnerabilities or functionality or bugs or whatever that is found by SBC could not be publicly disclosed, right? Now, suffice to say, I actually went to my boss at the time and said, dude, found this really huge thing. I found a way you could completely circumvent VPNet appliances. Like that was my big thing. And that's the whole, besides this drama that I'm describing around this story, the point of this to all of you is that my big, huge advisory on how to circumvent VPNs, which I spoke about at Black Hat briefings, thank you, Jeff Moss, actually was something that I'd found without knowing how to write a single line of code. you could put a gun to my head and you would have to shoot me because I would not be able to write a single line of code. Like under the threat of loss of life, I could not write a single. I could write like a printf line or something. Hello world. But you know, this was like the coolest, I think, in my opinion, I may be biased, the coolest vulnerability ever published in the history of the world. That may be a little okay, we'll leave that alone. Anyway, so yeah, so my point being is that you know VPNet claimed that they were not able to reproduce this bug. Total bullshit, by the way. I think that was the canned response by vendors at the time, right? Like this was before Bug Crowd, this is before Synac, before all of these bug bounty platforms existed. You were under threat of being sued by vendors if you publicly disclosed bugs. Like they sent lawyers to Black Hat briefings for my presentation because they knew I was doing a demonstration, and they wanted to make sure I didn't, you know, disclose the name of the company, the name of the vendor. And the interesting thing is actually SBC sent their employees as well. And one thing I do want to say is SBC fired me for this. I was so angry, right? I had just gotten married. You know, we had bills like anyone else. We had a significant amount of credit card debt. And I just lost my very high paying job for doing what I felt was right. You know, I mean, they weren't publishing that this was a problem to their customers. I do believe that a patch was eventually pushed out, that the fix was eventually pushed out, I think, because this is when Avaya acquired them. So I don't know if a patch ever went out. I never went back and tested it again, but I would hope they did. That's what really upsets me is you know, I made it look like I made this whole thing up and that I lied about the vulnerability because they weren't able to reproduce it. They sent employees to SBC where I demonstrated it. I demonstrated it on stage at Black Hat briefings. I mean, it was something extremely ridiculous, right? Like, so VPNs were, what do? They route traffic, right? So basically what you could do is with a machine either multiple hops away or one hop away, because you could also pass source routed traffic through the appliance as well. So that's another thing. But you could set the default route of a machine that was one hop away, for example, from the VPN, set its default route to the VPNet appliance. And if you set a route saying anything destined for this network, which was the VPN protected network behind the VPN on the internal interface, you could actually force the VPN to just route that traffic without IPsec, without anything. Like I demonstrated how you could SSH to a machine in the internal network on stage at Black Hat briefings without having anything but set this route line and these, you know, these route statements. So, you know, it's really upsetting how they responded. Anyway, the moral to the story is I've discovered some very critical, very life-altering vulnerabilities. Okay, fine. I'm over exaggerating, but okay. But they were serious. They were critical vulnerabilities, and I discovered them without knowing how to code. So if you're excited and passionate about penetration testing, and this is what you want to do, then do it. Do it. There is a place for you. You know, the vulnerability research that I've done in hacking connected cars, the vulnerabilities that I discovered in telematics control units, were all, if you look at my history of vulnerability research, they're all really at layer 3 stuff. You don't have to be a layer 7 person. You can be a layer 7. You can be a layer 3 girl, right? You can be a packet monkey. You can find vulnerabilities in routing issues and things in the network layer. Or you can find things like pre-computed, unencrypted private keys with no password sitting in a world readable directory on a TCU of a car without knowing how to code. So don't listen to the naysayers. Don't listen to the negative Nancys. If you don't know how to code, then do you. Do you. Hashtag do you. Alyssa Knight says do you. The only thing that matters is that you're having fun. that you are contributing something to cybersecurity, to secure data, to secure people, to make our lives better and run things in a more secure way. So that is my vlog for this week. Hopefully some of you got something out of it besides why I wear my hair in a ponytail so much. And you guys, if you want to see another video, if you want to see another vlog, let me know. If you want to see a vlog about a particular topic, let me know. Follow me on Twitter, follow me on LinkedIn, follow me on YouTube. I vlog, I've got my videos. I am also on Instagram TV. You can follow me on Instagram. You can pretty much find me everywhere, including podcasting. So if you are interested in following my podcast, I did actually think that you could just log into LinkedIn and just start broadcasting LinkedIn Live. I didn't know you had to actually apply for that. So this was supposed to be a live video. So I will be doing LinkedIn broadcasting LinkedIn Live soon. So for those of you who are interested, I will be doing that. So that wraps it up for this week. Thank you very much. This is Alyssa Knight checking out.